Now, I'm going to share with you my experience and honestly my tips of advice because it works for approaching people, sharing knowledge that might seem outlandish or something that is not something they want to know because it goes against their current knowledge. How is it that one should approach an individual who is closed-minded, who doesn't want to learn new information, who simply disagrees with it so hard to their core? Well, put that all aside. If you think in your own mind that they're going to disagree with you, that's already part of the problem. And you're going to project often what you feel the other individual is doing. If you feel like they are a slave, if they are not doing what you think they are doing, they're not freedom oriented, they're not growing food or whatever it is on my channel, those are typically the topics that we're talking about, very real world stuff that are very, very powerful. Like, what do you mean I'm a slave? I mean, I wouldn't tell anybody that. But in reality, I say we all are, until we can all get out of this plantation together with our knowledge, with our defending merely who we actually are as human beings. So I want to just simply provide you a case example. As an individual myself, I go in listening. I go in asking questions, if anything, and I make simple yet profound statements. And I've done this more often, especially lately, because you cannot expect one to be proficient at this right away. It takes courage and being able to withhold your own emotions and your own thoughts, to simply go with the flow, to be able to listen. A lot of people have a hard time doing that, especially if they have a lot of information to share, and especially if they are living in a yang-based world, which we mostly are. Everybody's rushing and thinking they have to do this and do that, and we got to be on a mission, and we got to go to school, and we got to do this, and we got to do that. And so it gets very loud, okay? Contributing to that noise may not be the solution. Being an alternative, a beaming light in the dark that everybody can see, is a better solution. But you don't also want to try to be that, because the more you try to do something as such, try to be noble, try to be righteous, you might actually be counterintuitive. To be actually right is to simply be yourself. Honesty. The principle of honesty. Alan Watts says, honesty is the basis of all morals. Carl Jung says, honesty is so important. And I have many quotes about that from them. It's very, very core to our human existence that we simply are honest with each other if we want an honest world. If we want a real world, we complain about fake people and how they don't listen to us. And yet, we might contribute to that if we ourselves are being drawn by the storm, or we're participating in the symptoms and not the roots of the problem, or if we come across very, very loud and extreme in a world that is very loud and extreme. Do you expect the situation to get better? It's like people who want to use violence to end violence. Okay, well, in the case of personal self-defense, I'm not going to say you shouldn't have that ability, but recognize the importance in nonviolent resistance and why it has worked all throughout history, and why many people who have studied all the many different types of protests in the world see it as the most powerful form. In addition, people have a lot of preconceived notions and judgments in their own head, and then that's more of a reason why you have to focus more on yourself than the person that you're talking to. Many times, many people come into my channel, and they may agree with 90% of what I have to say, but because they see one person in one of my thumbnails they don't like, or because they see someone's name or certain word uses that I have, it makes them have to write a whole comment about it, even though it has nothing to do with the video. It makes them focus down some rabbit hole that has literally nothing to do with bonding as humanity, in fact only keeping us in more illusions, and keeping us in semantics and distraction and in the cloud of confusion and arguments. Are you looking for unity, or are you looking for a division? It's quite funny because I see this often. Oh, who's a psyop? It doesn't matter, even if somebody is. And okay, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter at all, but it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is that you stand for the truth and do your best that other people are not doing, because you have to stand up for what you believe in. Okay? You can't complain about others all day. That's not going to actually change the scenario. You think complaining online is going to change if somebody's a psyop or not? You think it's going to make people look into if it's a psyop or not? You have to provide evidence and let the evidence speak for itself rather than you having to try to speak for the evidence. And many people want to speak in all caps. They want to be loud. And then people who talk to other people, they either get distracted on their own rabbit hole or the person that they're talking to gets distracted. And the key is we're just uniting as humanity. My message on my channel is Nature is the Answer. It's all about just becoming human, which is not a becoming, it's more of an embracing. We already are, okay? It's not that hard. So all we have to do is embrace it. What does that mean, Corey? It means wu wei. It means you need to practice it effortlessly. If it is intelligence, if it is something you know that is right, you practice it effortlessly. You don't practice it with effort. The master does things effortlessly, and that's why they get done so perfectly, because it's a practice, it's an art. Now I can produce videos like a practice and an art because I've been doing it for over 3-4 years. That's a good thing, right? I've been doing it even longer, actually, technically, because of my gaming channel. And so as you practice anything in this life, it becomes an art, becomes effortless, right? And you can use intelligence by stepping back and listening so you have a better response to what people have to say. And that's exactly what I do in conversation. I act when necessary, and when I do act, it is quite effortless. At least this is when I am in my best moments. And I know when I'm not in my best moments, and I know when I am, because I do all this reflection. That's why I willfully say, hey, I'm not perfect, and I'm still trying to work on this. But when am I ever not? I can't say, oh, I'm the master at talking to other individuals. I often recommend people check out Candles in the Dark by Larkin Rose, a seminar that he did on how to talk to people. Oh, Larkin Rose, he attacks people who think the earth is flat, and he attacks this and that. It's like he's not talking about this. It's like he's not talking about it. It's like, come on. There's a billion things none of us are talking about. There's a billion things we can criticize each other on. That's not the point. You stay focused on that, we're not going to get anything done. This is why the truth community or any freedom community nowadays, even though they have the internet and the ability to unify, it's actually becoming more divisive because they're distracted by all the many things that are grabbing their attention, even the so-called conspiracy and truth stuff that they think are actually so important, when in reality, it's not. And not to say that we should pass a lot of that up, because if you go back to my channel, you'll see I talk about everything that people think needs to be talked about, using certain language. Oh, the British Crown. Oh, religions. Oh, Israel and whatever, certain groups of people. I talked about all of it. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I choose, however, to focus on the root cause. I choose, however, to unify people, to bring people together, to look at the bigger picture, to individualize our approach, and not complain on the internet and yell at others or blame others. Do you notice none of my videos are attacking select individuals? You might find like one or two. You're not going to find all my videos, but look at most content creators online who, have a living around truth or news. It's all about other events, other people. It's not timeless. It's not universal. Whose message is actually going to last? This is not something to brag about. It's something to say, for the record, you want to make a real impact, then the real, we know, the natural has always existed. We know it's the universal and timeless. So go with that flow, the flow of nature, rather than the flow of society. The flow of society will get you swept by the wind, especially if you're against that society. But if you're with nature, you're by default against society, but without having to say you're against society, because you naturally are simply yourself. I said the greatest revolution in my Taoist seminar is just being yourself. So that's quite profound, isn't it? Because I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm not saying you have to say certain things. I'm not saying that you have to not do certain things, whatever, right? Just be yourself. And if you be yourself and you carry that out to its end, I don't have to tell you what to do. So when I'm in conversation, to make this more practical, I listen, I talk when necessary, and over time, guess what? By surprise, people come to me, asking me for my information. I don't have to bring it to them. I share my experiences, I speak from my heart, and I speak just honestly and very kindly. And I speak of disclaimers if I have to. In other words, I say, well, a lot of people might be opposed to what I have to say. And, you prepare them for what you have to say if you think it's going to cause a reaction. Okay? Because you care about them, do you not? The whole point why you would be talking to them, unless you want to project your ego. So you make the proper disclaimers, you listen, you ask questions, and you speak when necessary. And over time, naturally on its own, people come to you asking you for your information, for what's going on. The right people in the right moment, depending on where they are as an individual, will come to you and they will bond with you because you're not forcing the situation. You are choosing the path of least resistance while still acting intelligently, because you're doing that, and you are still making your life based on choices, on principles that you have at heart. But you're simply not pushing it on others, because what is the whole point of this message, this whole channel again? Oh, yeah, just to get you thinking, to be yourself and not impose yourself on others or be something that you're not. Okay, so if we want that for the world, what should we do? Exactly that. I'm not trying to make fun of it, but it really is quite simple. Talking to others is a very simple procedure, and it does not require a lot of intelligence. Anybody can do it. It just requires talking to people and practice and just being truly open-minded. But when you have an agenda and you have all these things in your head, you have an agenda. Right? And people can sense it. People can sense you're not there for them. You're not there for the conversation. You're there to push something. You're a businessman. You're just like everybody else in the world trying to get them to do something. And so they feel like they're obligated to pick something because everybody's doing it. But it would be quite refreshing of an air to say, okay, I'm not going to push something on you. I'm just going to give you my undivided attention, unconditional love. Don't you like unconditional love? Oh, well, this world is never going to love me and people are always going to be... You create this for yourself. You create more of the problem. You aggregate the problem. Not to say that you are not to blame, because you certainly aren't to blame. Most people are not to blame, actually, because you can't. A lot of them were raised in certain circumstances, so that's what I'm saying. Okay, I'm not blaming you. Okay, even though I am putting you on the spot here, saying that you might be doing some projecting and handling situations wrong. But I'm saying this for myself as well. I'm saying this for everybody. And I'm saying that we all have these tendencies. We all came from backgrounds where we felt like we knew what we knew, and then we ended up not knowing what we knew. And so have an open heart, not just an open mind. Be able to connect with your fellow man on a human level without all this man-made distracting bias, which you don't want to have to talk about anyways. Because if you realize, oh shoot, we shouldn't have to be talking about this, then create that world. Just that simple. I understand it may be a barrier in some people's mindset because they feel like they have to talk about it. Start introducing things that are natural, things that are going to help individuals. Food forest, right? Conscience, morality, spirituality, connection, love, food and shelter and friends and family. Okay? Gaming together, whatever it is. Things that have been done for ages, drinking tea, making food together. It's really simple. But I know it sounds simple. Don't put past that by. Simple little interactions and simple little steps can make a big difference in this life. It's all the little things that matter. The little things that tick people off, those are the things that prevent them from the greater truths. In the same way, the little things in life, love and happiness, that people say, yeah, everybody wants that and that's like default, those are the most important things in life. And yet we pass it by with, we need a fancy car and a fancy phone and the newest, best technology. No, not quite simple. Unnaturally simple. Quite naturally simple, we would look into what we were always having as a human species. And there's a reason why people go out into nature and they feel instantly better. No coincidence. Thank you very much for watching. This is Corey Angelat. Nature is the answer.